town and doing that. But anyway, while that thing's cooking, I got time to do stuff. And if you look at this, I had these taped up in a bundle. There's about 4 times as many in this bundle. Well, all of them were in that bundle right there, and they were square. And I had this doweling jig, and it worked pretty good for a few times, and I was using it yesterday, and I was having fits with it. I spent a while working on it. I made some of these dowels up. The thinner the dowel, the harder they are to produce. This is 1/4 inch dowels, and these are 3/8, so these are 1/4 inch. And I was trying to do a tap this morning, clean up some of them, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to rework my dowel jig just a little bit. And I store my stuff up there, like there's a bundle of them right there that I could probably take down and work if I want to, but when I'm cleaning scrap up, I'll throw them up there, and then I'll just have a time where I'm cleaning up. And so anyway, so today's that day, and this is the dowel jig. I've got various parts that I use to make 1/2 inch dowels, 5/8 dowels, 1/4 inch dowels. And like I said, the 1/4 inch dowels are considerably harder to make, and if you're using cedar, wow, I mean, even the smaller ones. So I generally will just buy some of the 1/4 inch, but I did happen to make a bunch of cedar ones up. Anyway, this jig, you'll see them on the web, and they're just this thing, and they mount to the fence. They're short. I think I got this from Grinwood and the Sneaker Show when I first saw it about 4 or 5 years ago. And I've used it several times through those years to make dowels, and it works pretty good. But yesterday I was having trouble with it not adhering to my fence as tight as I wanted to. I don't know what it was. My blade wasn't probably sharp enough. Went out and bought me a new blade. Got the dual pack. Saved about 20 bucks on 2 blades. So anyway, that was a good deal. DeWalt had on sale. So, but anyway, I take these little cutouts from these CNC jobs and, you know, save them up, and then I'll put them in and make these dowels up. So, you know, these are in here and they're tight. I did modify this by putting a board from end to end and clamping it. And the reason I do that is because this was working up, and my dowels were having some variety in them. I mean, a 1/16 of an inch, when your twist slit through there and it's coming through there, and the blade, it just wasn't as fixed. Now, this is a cheapo low saw, a little old Delta, and the blade adjustment's a little finicky. I mean, the blade, you just got to kind of, you know, hold your tongue just right and, you know, watch it. But once you get it dialed in, it's pretty good, and you can just dip them in there. If you get a 16 point, this is only a 6 point, but I've got some 15 points, but I was looking for mine anyway, so I didn't have to use this. So what I'll do is I'll just fire that up, round that over a little bit, stick it in that socket, stick it in there, run it through, pull it out, pull this out, put that back in the chuck, and then run it through, and that's what I get. And these are frontiersmen. They're not sanded at all, but they'll come out really pretty. But that's a 3/8 inch dowel, and for the biggest parts they're pretty good. Every now and then you get some little imperfections in it, you know, but these are for a frontiersman candle lantern that come up and down, and I'll hold these and you know, save them and then send them out. So, but there you go. That's what I've been doing, and it's working a lot better for me today. Something that's very important is use gloves back behind there, because every now and then a bullet fires out of there, and you'll get some shots to your fingers. My other hand's kind of a bit tore up, so I've been wearing gloves, and especially when you're using the littler dowels, so they just shoot out of there like a bullet sometimes, and they shatter in the cedar. So let me get back to it. Alright. I don't know how many's in there. There's a bunch in there. Those are walnut and oaks. mainly. This has got a few oaks in it, but it's primarily cedar. And then this is a group of just cedar. And then this is some that I've run through a cap and die set, and just to get them down to that thickness. And after I worked on that for a while, I just decided to fix my Dowel jig, and of course you can see what I got out of it in a third of the time. And then this is some more that I run the smaller dowels. Smaller dowels are real finicky, really hard to get down to a 1/4 inch, and I probably would prefer to buy them. Just as much work that goes into them. But the rest of them, you make them out of scraps. All these right here pretty much came from CNC scraps. Off of CNC is some 1/2 inch stuff that I was making, and it was perfect for 3/8 dowels. So those are the lantern riser posts for my lanterns. And you know, hardwood dowels, quite a bit of money. All right, this is a jig that I've modified. This comes from the sneaker show and from Grinwood. It's the first time I saw it many years ago. Probably 4 years ago. Anyway, this was originally designed just to clamp up to the fence, and it would clamp up in there, and you draw your fence up to it like so, and get her in there like so, and put your clamp across there. And I was having trouble with it lifting up, and so I decided that we're going to do this a little bit differently. And what I do is I'll just bring my saw blade up just so that I have my alignment, my saw blade, and then this snugly fits on both sides of the table. How I got to kind of, I just use 1/4 inch plywood and customize the jig for it. And that keeps it like that. And then I put a clamp down here on this end right here, big C clamp, and big C clamp there. And just for the sake of grin, I'll sometimes put the fence up there, but I don't really need it once it's clamped on that side and that side. It stays pretty good. Of course, I have the blocks that fit down inside here on that. It works out real well, and this keeps that from that. And I'm going to add a little keeper down here, like a little piece of pipe, so when this exits this, it'll go through this little ring right here, and that'll keep that blade from flopping around and keeping it parallel, because once you get a 1/4 inch dowel out here, it'll start flopping on you. So especially if you're doing long ones. But and of course, the least amount of movement you have in here, the better off you are. I do recommend that you make your jigs out of oak. Plywoods, softwoods they'll wear out, and they'll wear out really fast. So if you're going to invest the time in it, make it out of maple or oak. And this is just a red oak. As you can see, it's recycled from the cabinet, and works good. These little guys right here come out and they push up against the little maple blocks that go in the inserts. Of course, you hook your dowel up and run it through. But anyway, this is a good addition. This keeps this from walking around, and it's not clamped, and it's still pretty tight. But for sure, we'll clamp it down, and with the blocks in there, it works out real well. So that's my addition. Did that on a couple days ago, and that's a great tool. I've made up to 1/4 inch dowels with it. It takes a trick to get them to dial in, and for the 1/4 inch dowels, the 3/8 are easy to make. Anything above 3/8, they're all easy to make, because your wood, the wood, the thickness of the wood will support the turning. You get into a 1/4 inch, and man, it's pretty finicky. You need to have a sharp blade, and you need to keep your friction and the resistance down when you run your jig. Also notice that my little blocks that were just bone tight when I first made it, over the years they have shrunk down just a little bit. There's a little bit of a gap in the thickness of the wood, or the width of the blocks. So wood moves, and I was thinking I probably ought to make a little spacer to fit in there, just to keep any more of that wood movement down. And these have the the nuts in there, and of course, you know, they'll tighten up as you want them to, and this does a good job. This is a good design. It's made lots of dowels. I mean, I have made literally, you know, hundreds of dowels of all kinds. So I just save my CNC remnants. A lot of times when I'm doing jig work, I'll put them in bundles and store them up out of the way until I get ready to make some. There's some little bit bigger pieces that I put over the side, and sometimes I'll rip them on the bandsaw, and other times I'll just rip a bunch up on the table saw. But bandsaw, you just, you know, you don't lose much wood when you're doing it, but it's a little slower and it's not as accurate as ripping a bunch of pieces on the table saw to get them down there to it. And they don't have to be perfect because it's all being shoved down. I do recommend like a 16-point socket for your, you know, your tool. Once it's square, it seems to fit pretty good. I was making some with some 6-point sockets, but inside that little Dowel Making box, I have those rest of the jigs that go in there.